Most men believe love is about making a woman happy. So they give more, they try harder, they ignore their own needs just to keep the relationship alive. But over time, something strange happens. The more they try to please, the less they feel respected. And eventually, they lose not just the relationship, but themselves. Because love was never meant to be built on self-sacrifice alone. It must be built on something deeper: self-respect, discipline, emotional control. The Stoic philosophers understood this long before modern relationships became so complicated. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And nowhere is this more important than in love. Because the moment you lose control of yourself, you begin to lose control of everything else. The truth is simple. A strong relationship is not built by a man who tries to be perfect. It is built by a man who knows who he is, what he stands for, and what he will never tolerate. So in this video, we're going to break down 10 rules of love every man must understand, not to keep a woman, but to never lose himself. Let's start with the most important one. Rule number 1. Master self-respect first. Before you try to build love with someone else, you need to ask yourself a harder question. Do you actually respect yourself? Because if the answer is no, everything that follows will be built on something unstable. A man who lacks self-respect will tolerate things he shouldn't. Disrespect, mixed signals, lack of effort. Not because he doesn't see it, but because he is afraid to lose the relationship. And that fear quietly destroys his standards. This is where most men go wrong. They think love means staying no matter what, enduring everything, accepting anything. But that is not love. That is lack of self-worth. The Stoics saw this clearly. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In other words, stop seeking approval at the cost of your own dignity. Because the moment you start abandoning your standards just to be liked, you begin to lose yourself. And once a man loses himself, he becomes someone who can be easily replaced. Self-respect is not arrogance, it's not ego. It's the quiet decision that you will not accept less than what aligns with your values. You will not stay where you are not respected, and you will not trade your identity for temporary affection. Ironically, this is what makes a man more attractive. Because people naturally respect those who respect themselves. Not the ones who beg to be chosen, but the ones who choose themselves first. And once that foundation is set, everything else in the relationship begins to change. Because now, you are no longer trying to keep someone at all costs. You are choosing from a place of strength, not fear. And that leads to the next rule. Because self-respect means nothing if you don't know how to protect it. Rule number 2, set boundaries without fear. Self-respect means nothing if it disappears the moment you enter a relationship. Because love will test your standards, not once, but constantly. There will be moments when she crosses a line, disrespects your time, pushes your limits, or expects you to tolerate something you know isn't right. And in those moments, most men hesitate, not because they don't see the problem, but because they are afraid to lose her. So instead of speaking up, they adjust themselves. They stay quiet. They accept more than they should. They trade honesty for temporary peace. But here's what that creates over time: resentment. Because every boundary you fail to set becomes a problem you will have to live with. Seneca warned about this kind of weakness when he said, "He who is not a good servant will not be a good master." If you cannot govern yourself, your standards, your limits, your actions, you will not be able to lead a healthy relationship.
Because boundaries are not about controlling her, they are about defining what you accept and what you don't. And love without boundaries quickly turns into imbalance. One person gives more, one person tolerates more, one person slowly loses respect. A man who sets boundaries calmly changes that dynamic. He doesn't shout, he doesn't threaten, he simply makes it clear. This is what I stand for, and more importantly, this is what I will not accept. That clarity creates something powerful: respect. Because people don't respect what is always available, they respect what has limits. And in love, boundaries are not what push people away, they're what keep the right people close.
Rule number 3. Control your emotions. In relationships, it's not conflict that destroys attraction. It's how you handle it. Because conflict is inevitable. Misunderstandings happen, emotions rise, tension appears. But what matters is this: do you react or do you remain in control? Most men react. They argue to prove a point. They raise their voice to be heard. They let anger speak for them. And in that moment, they believe they are standing their ground. But what they are actually revealing is something else: emotional instability. And nothing erodes respect faster than that. Epictetus said, "Any person capable of angering you becomes your master." Read that again. If someone can control your emotions, they control you. And in a relationship, that creates a dangerous dynamic. Because now your mood depends on her behavior. Your reactions depend on her words. Your state is no longer your own. But a man who remains calm in emotional moments creates the opposite effect. He listens without reacting. He responds without losing control. He stays grounded when things get intense. And that calmness sends a powerful signal. I am in control of myself. Not the situation, not her emotions, but himself. And that is where real strength lies. Because emotional control doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't let your feelings control your actions. And when a woman sees that a man cannot be pulled into chaos, she begins to trust him more, respect him more, and feel safer around him. Because stability is rare. And in love, what is rare is always valued. Rule number 4. Keep your own life. One of the fastest ways to weaken attraction in love is to make love your entire life. It doesn't happen all at once. You start giving more time, more attention, more of yourself, until one day, without realizing it, your world begins to revolve around her. At first, it feels right. It feels like devotion, like care, like love. But slowly, something begins to shift. Because when a man has nothing outside of love, love starts to feel heavy. Not exciting, not free, but responsible for his happiness. And that changes everything. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good." Meaning, your sense of fulfillment must come from your own life first, not from another person. Because when a man depends on love to feel complete, he becomes needy. He looks for constant attention, constant reassurance, constant presence, and over time, attraction fades. But when a man has his own life, his own goals, his own direction, his own path, something different happens. He doesn't need love to complete him. He chooses love to enrich his life. And that choice feels different. It feels lighter, stronger, more real.
Because now his presence is not based on need, it's based on intention. He is there because he has nowhere else to go. He is there because he wants to be. And that is what makes love powerful. Because the most meaningful kind of love is not when two people depend on each other for everything. It's when two complete individuals choose each other without losing themselves. And that's where real attraction lives.
Rule number 5, communicate without ego. Most problems in love don't come from a lack of feelings. They come from the way people communicate those feelings. Because when tension appears, it's no longer about understanding. It becomes about being right, proving a point, defending yourself, winning the moment. And that's where ego quietly destroys connection. You interrupt, you assume, you respond before you truly listen, not because you don't care, but because your ego wants to protect you. But here's the truth. Love is not a competition. There is no winner, because the moment one person wins, the connection loses. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." In love, this matters more than anywhere else, because sometimes she's not asking you to fix anything, she's asking to be understood. But most men make the same mistake. They hear a problem and immediately try to solve it. They give advice, they explain logic, they try to fix the situation. But what she often needs is something simpler, to feel heard, to feel that her emotions are seen, not dismissed. A man who understands this communicates differently. He listens fully. He doesn't rush to respond. He reflects before reacting. Sometimes he simply says, "That sounds difficult. I understand why you feel that way." And that alone creates something powerful: trust. Because real communication is not about saying the perfect words. It's about creating a space where both people feel safe to be honest. And that only happens when ego is removed. When you stop trying to be right and start trying to understand. Because in love, the strongest man is not the one who wins arguments. It's the one who protects the connection. And that leads to the next rule. Because communication builds trust, but only if your actions consistently match your words.
Rule number 6, be reliable. In love, words are easy. Anyone can say, "I care." Anyone can say, "I'll be there." Anyone can say, "Trust me." But over time, words lose meaning if they are not backed by action. Because love is not built on what you say, it's built on what you consistently do. Showing up when you said you would, keeping the promises you made, being the same person, not just when it's easy, but when it's inconvenient. That is what creates trust. And without trust, love becomes unstable, uncertain, fragile, full of doubt. The Stoics valued this kind of consistency deeply. Seneca once wrote, "What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say." In other words, your actions will always reveal your truth. In love, this becomes undeniable. You can say you care, but if you disappear when it matters, she remembers that. You can promise change, but if nothing actually changes, she sees that. And slowly, something begins to break. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly. Trust. A man who is reliable does something different. He doesn't overpromise. He doesn't say things just to keep the moment. He says less, but means more. And when he gives his word, he treats it as something that represents who he is. Because reliability is not just about being there for someone else. It's about being someone they can count on without having to question it. And that creates something rare in love: safety. Not control, not dependency, but the kind of safety that allows love to grow without fear. Because when a woman knows that your words and actions align, she stops doubting, she stops testing, she starts trusting. And trust is what allows love to deepen over time. Because attraction may bring two people together, but consistency is what keeps them there. And that leads to the next rule. Because trust is built through your actions, but love also grows through how you allow each other to breathe and exist as individuals.
Rule number 7. Respect her freedom. Love begins to fade the moment it starts to feel like control. It may not look obvious at first. It shows up in small ways, questioning where she is, doubting her choices, needing constant updates, constant reassurance. Not because you want to control her, but because you're afraid to lose her. And that fear slowly turns love into something restrictive, something heavy. Because when freedom disappears, so does attraction. The Stoics understood this clearly. Epictetus said, "If you want to be loved, be lovable." And part of being lovable is not trying to control what was never yours to control. Because love is not ownership, it's not possession, it's not about holding on tightly. It's about allowing space and trusting what remains. When a man tries to control a woman, he sends a message without realizing it. I don't trust you. I don't feel secure. I'm afraid. And those signals slowly weaken the connection. But a man who respects her freedom creates the opposite effect. He trusts her decisions. He allows her space. He doesn't try to monitor or control her world. Not because he doesn't care, but because he understands something deeper. If someone wants to stay, they will. And if they don't, no amount of control will change that. That mindset creates a different kind of love, a love that feels free, not forced, not pressured, not constantly tested. And paradoxically, that freedom makes people want to stay even more, because no one is attracted to a cage, but everyone is drawn to a space where they can breathe. Respecting her freedom doesn't push her away. It gives her a reason to stay. Because she knows she is choosing you, not being held by you. And that makes love feel real. And that leads to the next rule. Because giving freedom is important, but maintaining attraction over time requires something more intentional. Rule number 8. Keep putting in effort. One of the most common mistakes men make in love is thinking the work is done once they have her. In the beginning, everything feels natural. You plan, you try, you pay attention to the details. You want to impress her. You want to make her feel special. But over time, that effort slowly fades. You become comfortable, predictable, less intentional, less present. And without realizing it, the energy that created attraction in the first place begins to disappear. Because love doesn't stay strong on autopilot. It requires maintenance, not in a forced way, but in a conscious, intentional way. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In love, this means something simple. The obstacles that appear over time, routine, familiarity, comfort, are not reasons to give less. They are reasons to become more intentional. Because attraction doesn't fade suddenly. It fades slowly, through neglect, through lack of effort, through taking each other for granted. A man who understands this does something different. He doesn't stop showing up. He still creates moments, small ones, simple ones, but meaningful ones. A message at the right time, a thoughtful plan, a genuine moment of presence. Not because he's trying to win her again, but because he understands that love grows through attention. Effort, in this sense, is not about chasing, it's about caring. Not desperate, not excessive, just consistent. Because when effort disappears, love starts to feel ordinary. And when love feels ordinary for too long, it becomes easy to replace. But when a man remains intentional, even in the small things, he reminds her of something she felt in the beginning. And that feeling is what keeps attraction alive. Because love is not something you achieve once, it's something you continue to build every day. And that leads to the next rule. Because effort creates connection, but connection only deepens when you truly understand what the other person is feeling.
Rule number 9. Learn to listen deeply. In love, being heard is often more powerful than being helped. But most men don't realize this, because when a woman shares something emotional, their instinct is immediate. Fix it, solve it, explain it, make it better. And while that may come from a good place, it often misses what she actually needs: to feel understood. Because not every emotion is a problem to solve. Sometimes it's an experience to be shared. And when that experience is dismissed too quickly, the connection begins to weaken. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "If anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake, I'll gladly change." That mindset matters in love because it requires humility, the willingness to pause your own perspective and truly consider hers. A man who listens deeply does something different. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't rush to conclusions. He doesn't turn the conversation back to himself. He stays present. He pays attention not just to the words, but to the feeling behind them. Sometimes he simply reflects, "I understand why that upset you. That makes sense." And in those moments, something subtle happens. She feels safe. Safe to express. Safe to open up. Safe to be vulnerable. And that safety is what creates real emotional depth. Because love doesn't grow from perfect conversations. It grows from honest ones, where both people feel seen, not corrected, understood, not managed. Listening deeply is not passive, it's intentional. It requires patience, awareness, and the ability to set aside your ego. But when a man develops this skill, he creates something most relationships lack: real connection. Because in the end, people don't remember every word you said. They remember how they felt when they were with you. And feeling understood is one of the rarest experiences in love. And that leads to the final rule. Because connection alone is not enough. You also need the strength to recognize when love is no longer right for you. Rule number 10. Know when to walk away. Not every love is meant to last. And one of the hardest lessons a man must learn is knowing when to let go. Because when emotions are strong, clarity becomes weak. You hold on longer than you should. You ignore what you feel. You justify what you know isn't right. Disrespect, lack of effort, toxic patterns that repeat again and again. Not because you don't see them, but because you're afraid of losing what you once had. And so you stay, hoping things will change, hoping it will go back to how it was. But hope is not a strategy, and love alone is not enough. The Stoics understood this with brutal honesty. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." If you keep convincing yourself that everything is fine, you will never see the truth clearly. And the truth is this: love without respect will drain you. Love without effort will exhaust you. Love without alignment will break you. A man who understands this does something difficult. He chooses truth over comfort. He doesn't stay where he is tolerated. He doesn't fight endlessly for something one-sided. He doesn't ignore patterns that keep repeating. Not because he doesn't care, but because he respects himself enough to walk away. And that is not weakness. That is strength. Because walking away is not about giving up on love. It's about refusing to settle for less than what love should be. Mutual, respectful, growth-oriented. And when a man reaches that level of clarity, something changes. He no longer chases love blindly. He chooses it carefully. And that makes all the difference.
Final thought: the truth about love. Most men spend their lives chasing love, trying to be enough, trying to prove their worth, trying to hold on to someone at all costs. But in doing so, they slowly lose the one person they should never lose: themselves. Because love was never meant to be built on fear. Not fear of being alone, not fear of losing someone, not fear of not being enough. Real love begins the moment a man no longer needs it to feel complete. When he has standards, when he has discipline, when he has control over his own mind. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself." And that is the truth most men learn too late. Love is not what completes you. It is what you choose once you are already whole. And when a man reaches that point, everything changes. He no longer chases. He no longer tolerates what doesn't align. He no longer loses himself trying to keep someone else. He loves with clarity. He stays with intention, and when necessary, he walks away with dignity. Because he understands something most people don't: that love without self-respect is not love. It's attachment. So the real question is this: are you building love from strength or from fear? Take a moment and be honest with yourself, because the answer to that question will define every relationship you have. Thank you for watching Stoic Wisdom today. If this message resonated with you, comment self-respect first, and tell me your perspective. Which of these 10 rules do you think most men struggle with the most, and why? Subscribe to us for more insights on love, discipline, and self-mastery. Because in the end, the strongest man in love is the one who never abandons himself. Until next time, stay calm, stay grounded, stay stoic.